Hello, everybody, and welcome to the entertainment headquarters, and welcome to my segment, Kaiju Connections, where we talk all things giant monster kaiju within the world of cinema and television. And joining me today is a host of amazing guests, and we are here to talk about another 1950s sci-fi classic. We're here to talk about Tarantula 1955. And joining me, like I say, a host of amazing guests. So, starting off, my co host, who's a regular on the channel, Mr. DJ Anubis of the Metal Tavern Radio.
Sup?
And alongside him, our good friend and kaiju enthusiast, Mr. Walter Ross.
It's kind to be here.
And the one that we have named the Professor, very knowledgeable, not just in kaiju cinema, but all things cinema, Mr. Daniel Miller.
Good evening.
Good evening.
And of course, he is the master of horror. He is a master collector. I said master collector. He is our good friend. He is Mr. Tony of the Dead.
Hello.
My ghoul brother.
Yes. And the creator of the Sci-Fi Society, the man who is living life, who's living his way. He says it is Mr. Sci-Fi Sentry.
What's up?
Mm-hmm. And finally, Mr. Anthony Jordan of Mr. Anthony Jordan's Movies.
Oh, yeah, I forgot he was down in the basement.
Oh, fuck.
So, first question. Do we like spiders or do we not like spiders? We'll start with Mr. DJ Anubis.
I hate him.
Yeah.
Actually, I've told people before, yeah, I do have arachnophobia, believe it or not. However, I got into the hobby. I had a tarantula way back when. Didn't know half the shit I know now about them, but after watching a guy's channel for a few months, I said, I'm gonna try this again because I really enjoyed it. I really enjoy what they are and appreciate their beauty and uniqueness for each one. So I'm up to 17 different species of tarantula. Anyone has seen my channel, if you see my little spotlight series that I do and the spiders I have and the species, you kind of get to know a little bit about them and whatnot. So it helps me kind of cope with my fear of spiders. Obviously I don't play with them like I would a cat or a dog, but I take care of them, treat them well, feed them, and all that good stuff. So it's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Mr. Jedi Granfell, what's your experience with spiders?
Uh-oh.
That much, he's gone. He's terrified.
I think that conversation truly terrified Mr. Jedi Granville. Mr. Walter Ross.
It sounded like you said Jedi Grand Fail.
Well, I do not lie. So, Sci-Fi Sentry, what's your experience with spiders and like or dislike them?
I like spiders because they eat and kill scorpions and other arachnids that I don't like. So if I see a spider, I'll try to catch it and I'll put it back outside or whatever. But I leave them alone. I don't mess with them. I don't mind spiders. I just hate scorpions. But I don't mind spiders. Like, I see a spider, hey man, you know what? You mind your business, you're good. Not, let me take you outside. But I'm not afraid of them. I respect them.
Yes.
But they're they're very particular, very unique. But I don't got any hatred towards spiders.
Yes. Anthony Jordan.
Well, I had an infection the size of a baseball on my right leg over a spider bite, so can't say I'm the biggest fan.
And I know this man absolutely adores spiders, Mr. Daniel Miller.
Oh god. Yeah. I don't hate them as such, but I am a sort of arachnophobic of them. I mean, it's really to do with the small ones, the small, tiny ones. They're fine, no problem with them whatsoever. I can just pick them up gently and put them outside. But if you get ones like the big ones, like the house spiders and so on, that's that's
You mean like
No.
the one rolling on the framed Godzilla picture behind you?
Oh my god, that's huge.
Christ, don't fucking do.
Well, you got him. I thought he was playing with you.
Yeah, me too. I thought, like, I was about to say, there's one crawling on your,
You
on
know,
your roll.
he definitely just woke up because he was not ready for that. At
No.
all. You're fucked up, Anthony. That's fucked up.
And the professor, along with his after sex hair,
You're,
all good though.
you're just upset I beat you to it.
Mr. Tony of the Dead.
Years ago, I was more afraid of them. I think I'm calming down with them now. I don't want to touch one, but I'm like, I'm not like or anything. I'm not like Dan just did, but I respect them enough to not touch them. Snakes, on the other hand, I'm like Indiana Jones. I just
hate snakes.
not
Well,
a snake man. But spiders, like I watched the movie last night, and it didn't bother me at all. I thought it was, in fact, I like those little ones that like people like make the face, like the web,
yeah.
I don't know what they're called. They're like the little ones, and they're cute.
That's my little baby,
I like those.
Mystique.
Hi, Mystique. You didn't let them watch this movie, did you?
Huh?
You didn't let them watch this movie, did you? Because of the
Which
ending.
one?
Tarantula.
Oh yeah.
The one we're here to talk about.
What species is Mystique?
She's a mutant.
She's what we call an Indian ornamental, regalis. She's part of the Pokies. There's a series of spider called whatever the fuck it is. I can never pronounce the scientific name, but they're just Pokies for short.
So she's
a regalis. So she's an old world. So obviously, as she gets older and bigger, like I have a Mysore and a Toga Starburst, and even though the Starburst is not a Poke, they're both old worlds. And
have you got a spider? Yeah. Have you got a spider there that looks very similar to the one we're about to talk about?
I do, but I don't know if I can get a close enough because let me see. I'll see if I can get them.
I don't mind centipedes.
Oh.
Whoa. Yeah, centipedes are ones that I do. I am
stay on one side, dumbass.
All those legs.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, beautiful. Hello, beautiful. How are you?
Yep. Now the funny thing is, like I said, we initially thought it was a female, and so we called it Blondie after the singer. But when he molted, he became a hooked out male. So we still call him Blondie, but now he's Clint Eastwood's Blondie from The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. So that's basically what we went with.
Yeah.
Yes. So anyway, there is just a little bit of arachnophobia there, and a little bit, arachnophobia from Daniel Miller. Lots of loving for spiders by Mr. DJ Anubis.
Yeah, I missed his facial expressions. I have to go back and watch it.
You'll have to bring him back over.
Yes. As for me personally, I have always been quite fascinated with spiders. It's like a love-hate relationship with them. I don't mind them, but then there's something really terrifying about them at the same time. And so that is what led me to this particular movie within my kaiju reviews on Kaiju Connections. So let's talk a little bit about Tarantula, 1955. Absolutely. They're a perfect predator.
Yeah.
So Tarantula is a 1955 American science fiction monster film produced by William Orland and directed by Jack Arnold. It stars John Yeager, Maura Corday, who was stunning, and Lee G. Carroll. The film is about a scientist developing a miracle nutrition to feed a rapidly growing human population. It is unperfected state. The the nutrient causes extraordinary rapid growth, creating a deadly problem when a tarantula test subject escapes and continues to grow larger and larger. So, next question, first things, Mr. DJ Anubis. Obviously, it was a few weeks back I told you we were going to do this, and you got very excited to do this movie. So I don't know if you've ever seen this movie. So first impressions.
Yeah, I had seen it. It'd been a long while, so even when I rewatched it, the beginning, I'm kind of like, I don't remember this part because I had the guy wandering around this desert, all fucked up and whatnot, and I was like, I don't know, did he get bit? I can't remember exactly how he came the way he was, but yeah, I saw this some time ago on TV at some point because even though it was way before I was born that it came out and released, it's one of those drive-in monster flicks that you would see at the time, and but I had seen it on like one of the late nights, like Elvira or something like that, at some point, and really enjoyed it. Obviously, spiders intrigued me anyway, despite the phobia. So it doesn't matter what it is. You and I did discussions on reviews for other spider movies and whatnot, so we all talk about it a lot, despite having a sort of fear of them. But the movie is great, especially for its time. Like even going back and watching it, just the way they got the special effects at the time was pretty amazing, and how great they did a job with that.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else?
So yeah. Just the screen just froze there for a moment.
Oh.
But anyway, we've got a couple of people. Obviously, Jake Hall was there. He's watching us today. We also have Little Loki is joining us.
Little Loki.
So hello, Little Loki. Thanks for watching. So, Sci-Fi Sentry, what is your opinion of Tarantula when you first seen it for the first time? What was your initial reaction to it?
Well, when I first saw it, I think I was like six, no, maybe about 7 or 8. My mom was really into those movies, and we saw it probably on the USA Network, or it must have been on TBS. And I didn't remember much of it until we saw it yesterday when we did that little viewing, and brought back I remembered a few things. A wolfman looking dude in the beginning of the film. Like, what the hell is he doing here? And then as the story progressed, go ahead.
Just saying happy Thanksgiving to Little Loki for the other day. I hope you had a great day, and I hope everyone has had a great time during that time. Let's welcome back Mr. Walter Ross, who is now at the bottom.
Just
Are you over your fear?
Yeah, my phone is. I don't know what the fuck happened right there, man. Shit. Pissed me off, man. This is like the biggest bunch of bullshit. It's like the spider got into my shit and fucked it up. That's what happened.
Probably that creature from the Black Lagoon.
Might have been, So
it sounds like you've had your own personal Alexa moment.
Pretty much.
Yeah, Kevin was waiting for that one.
Yeah, I've been waiting to just fucking knock that one out the park. Yes. So, Mr. Anthony Jordan, when was your first experience with this particular film?
Maybe around 5 or 6 years old, and I loved it from the first time I seen it. I'm not the biggest fan of spiders, but tarantulas especially fascinate me. I could geek out just talking about them. I mean, there's even a species in South America that actually adopts a pet frog to eat mites. In this one, I just always look forward to it when it was on TV, and I was always disappointed. Not that it's a bad movie, but whenever they showed Earth versus the spider, I'd be like, why isn't it Tarantula?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yes. Daniel Miller.
Okay. When I first saw Tarantula, this was a couple years back. I've always seen it in bits and pieces on like documentaries on monster and sci-fi movies, but I was able to catch it in full on a TV showing late night. And this was when I was growing up, and my arachnophobia. While I still have a fear of spiders myself, it's over the years become less and less gradually, 1 month, 1 year at a time. Yeah, the first time I saw it, from the opening of the man walking through the desert, I was like, "Oh, this isn't what I would expect from a spider movie." No, but then when it shows how the spider is there, and of course you see it's a real spider that's superimposed, and I know that, of course, they could have done stop motion, but what they did with just superimposing a live action spider that was, of course, pre-filmed and then matted in, I thought that was really good, and I actually thought that that's a lot more unnerving. Even though I always thought that the stop motion spiders from the spider pit sequence in the original King Kong were really just terrified me in that section. But in Tarantula, I wasn't creeped out as much, but I do appreciate the how the film was made, and of course the titular creature itself. How simple it was, but how effective it was because of its simplicity.
Very true. The thing with the 1950s, before Godzilla, which came out in 1954, you had like the likes at the same year. You had the likes of them. Before
Yeah,
that, you had 20. You had
the Beast from
the
20,000
Fathom for
Fathoms.
the Beast from 20,000 Fathom. So once those initial movies came out, the US, it kind of started the big sci-fi kind of craze where every studio wanted to be in on the action and come up with a giant monster movie or a giant creature film. And this is one of those films that was, created because of that kind of craze. You also had you had them. You've had The Claw, you've had a number of other well-known features because of that time. Mr. Tony of the Dead, when was your first time seeing Tarantula?
Last night, actually, first time watching it. I've
Oh,
never
cool.
been intrigued to watch it, I'll be honest, because
Yeah.
if it was a spider. But last night, obviously for this, I was like, okay, Shayna's terrified of spiders, so she didn't watch it. But I saw it for the first time last night, and in the beginning of the movie, I actually thought I put on the wrong one. I was like, what is this? And I thought it was like a Wolfman thing too. I was like, what the hell's going on here? And then, but I like that it wasn't like your typical, radioactive thing. Well, I guess in a way it was, but like not like a toxic chemical dump and then it got bigger. I like the whole trying to solve world hunger and stuff, and
Yeah,
that
there
just
were.
kind of like went from there. I like that.
It's
I
like,
thought it was a cool
yeah.
idea.
Well, there's like that saying, isn't it? Bad things come out of good intentions. So this scientist who's trying to create this toxin or this chemical to create a lot of good in the world, something bad comes out of it.
Yep.
Mr. Walter Ross, when was your first experience with Tarantula?
It was always through bits and pieces through my childhood, but I didn't officially watch it until the beginning of this week. what I took out of it was the fact that this is not exactly what I thought it was going to be. I mean, you know, films like this coming out of the 50s, you expect, that's the expectation. You think like, okay, they're going to be kind of wobbly, chunky, you know, it's like it's just a throwaway thing. But it was actually very well put together, you know. I mean, it's impressive was meaning the effects in here was surprisingly good for what they were at the time. And that was what surprised me the most, because I was expecting to be like, okay, it's just superimposed, not really great, but it's actually the people who did this did a really good job, and you know, in a way, photoshopping a tarantula on the big screen to make it look bigger, you know. And like I say, the story structure is pretty much simple as it is, but it gives you what you want in terms of, you know, why this particular creature gets as big as it does, because in the midst of it, it's mostly character driven, and then it's like, okay, it leads to something more horrendous. You know, to me, that's the thing about it. But yeah, that's the first time I actually.
Yes. So let's talk about the plot. So the plot starts off very mysteriously. You're in the middle of the desert, and you are then treated to this man who is severely deformed, who basically collapses and dies at a place called Desert Rock, Arizona, which is a fictional place. So, you know, it's quite. And then as soon as it starts, you straight away are like, oh, if you guys ever watch the trailer, there's a goof where the narrator says that there's a tiny insect, it turns into a giant spider, but everyone knows spiders are arachnids. That's very true. That's very true, yes. But you often find back in the 1950s, they used to say things, or they used to like announce things without looking into facts just to get a buzz about a movie. And this was in case along the lines of what happened there. So we'll start from the bottom to the top. Mr. Jedi Granville, what do you think of the initial beginning of the movie with the whole desert scene and how it starts in this mysterious way with this deformed man?
Well, it's something that I think some of I mean, like I think Tony said it, and I think Professor mentioned it too. Is the fact that that's one thing about this film. It starts out unexpectedly what you think is going to start with this man walking through the desert in a very deformed, almost kind of Frankensteinian kind of look, you know, whatever deformed figure type of individual. You don't know who this person is, you know. And I'm just like, okay, this is something different, you know. This is something odd, you know, to start off a film that talks about tarantula, giant, you know, spider. But then when the credits come up and it says tarantula, you know, it's like, okay, this is just a throwaway to let you know, like, this is something that's going to lead to why we have a giant spider. Why we have a giant spider, we still don't know. But that's just to whet the audience appetite to say, yes, this is something bad, because we see this man struggling in the heat, in the desert, whatever. And whatever is leading to this, you know, it's like, okay, we got your interest, we got your curiosity. Now we're going to go where we're going with it, you know.
Yes. And it turns out that they believe that the man that has collapsed and died is also a scientist called called, you know, it appears to be that of the body of the biological researcher, Eric Jacobs, who is an assistant to another scientist by the name of Dr. Gerald Deemer. And, you know, you see them go through the autopsy, they do like the research, and then you know, Dr. Gerald Deemer says that the person who they believe is Jacobs has died of something called acromegaly. But there's another scientist there who immediately is like, I do not believe this man has died of this illness. So they straight away believe the other scientist is lying and that it's starting to form a bit of a plot and a bit of a secret, and there's a lot of secrecy among what's going on among this. Soon as that happens, and the other scientist decides, I'm going to look into this further, you then go and you're then taken to shots directly to the home of Dr. Deemer, and that is where you get to see all of these amazing images of the giant research animals. You get to see this, you get to see this actual spider in his enclosure, which straight away is quite terrifying, especially when you see a spider of this size staring back at you. So, it's starting to build a plot. It's starting to come to nicely together. So, DJ Anubis, how do you feel about the initial opening of this movie?
It's definitely intriguing. You kind of learn early on that Deemer is kind of hiding something because he wants to rush to have the body buried. And he's just, of course, he has the reputation to be a very credible doctor or professor in the town. And the sheriff, he's wary of the new doctor, Hastings. He doesn't trust him quite as much as Deemer. But going back to the idea of why they're doing these experiments, I mean, it's kind of funny when I'm watching. I'm thinking immediately of like the movie Food of the Gods, where they kind of do a similar thing where they're it's like in that one it's like chicken feed that's growing their chickens bigger so they can have more food and stuff, but rats get into it and they become larger and start causing havoc on the residents of that particular movie. But this is kind of a similar vibe. They're trying to do good with what they're doing, but they get impatient, and so they start injecting themselves, and that's where it leads to our guy at the beginning who is mutated from the side effects of the serum that they're using. Yep.
I remember when we were watching this last night, I think not DJ Anubis, sorry, it was Sci-Fi Sentry was just watching this as we had put it on, and he was like, "What the fuck is that?" On this.
Well, I thought it was funnier when Deemer started changing. He got out when when the spider was attacking the house. He looked like the Elephant Man, like literally.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's like, I'm not an animal.
I'm just fucked up.
I had my eyes like way down here. I'm like, holy shit, dude.
Because it was like Tony said, like it says tarantula, but then who's this werewolf-looking mutated guy? And I'm like, what does that have to do with the thing? And that's why when we were watching it, I said, like I told everybody, I was like, what the fuck is that? and I was like, seriously. And then as it got into it, was like, oh, okay, like it started looking, like Daniel, the professor, was saying, like for the time, 1955, like the special effects and them, just enlarging, I guess, using that trick photography or what is it called, movie magic. Yeah, that. Yeah, it looked good. I was like, it looks good. I mean, I do like older, horror movies, monster movies, American monster movies. But I was just
I don't think people who are being born this day and age.
Hey, go back to that picture for a minute.
This one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of interesting because the spider in the cage next to him looks like it's doing the same thing. So it looked almost like they were projecting off of that onto the thing behind them.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I never saw that before.
That could be a possibility. That's really well noticed, Anubis. So since we're talking the Sci-Fi Sentry, what's your initial reaction to the beginning of this movie?
Well, I mean, you guys saw pretty much heard my reaction was what the F. I'm like, what is that? But Leading into it, when we got further into little into the movie, discussing about the doctor and them doing the research on what they're working on, injecting themselves, but then seeing I remember seeing, was it guinea pigs, and then seeing rats that were bigger than they were, and that's where it started getting interesting, I mean, and then saw the spider, and I was like, oh wow, like that's like it had been so long since I seen the movie, like decades since I seen it, and it just brought back some of the memories and all that stuff. Oh yeah, there he is.
Yep.
There he is.
Firefox.
You've meant
Firefox.
Yeah.
Yeah, he couldn't.
Yeah.
He couldn't even hit the damn spider. Sorry. But yeah,
He
it's
got better as he got older.
yeah. But, no,
His
it's
first
What all you
novel
gotta do is
was
speak
Giant
Russian.
Spidey.
no, it was
Yeah.
Russian. No, it was very interesting, man. Like I started like wow, the professor said made a lot of even during we're watching it. You're not even going live. We're just doing like a little viewing, and the professor gets into detail on how the movie magic works and photography and everything. So no, it's interesting. It's very
That's
interesting.
what I
Which
love
I'm
about
gonna,
it.
yeah, which I'll talk about, which I'm gonna ask you about in a bit. So, Anthony Jordan, your initial reaction to the opening and the building of the plot?
Just a great, intriguing opening. You see this deformed guy. You're like, what's up with that? And the movie slowly feeds you information until you get to the scene with the scuffle with the in the lab. It even introduces the characters at a nice pace, so it's off to a strong start in one of the only like 50s American monster on the loose movies of the times like of this time that I can think of that possibly has a stronger start is them. But you know what that makeup there on him almost reminds me of, and I wonder if it was the same makeup artist in Abbott and Costello Meet Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Well, that's sort of what I thought because I saw the guy begin. I'm like, am I in the right movie here? What am I
Because
doing?
there's it had like was it the same makeup artist? Because there's almost a similarity in style.
Well, it either is or you have the same style.
Yeah. It could have been the
Potentially.
same.
Now, let's be
Yes,
fair, okay? So you showed that picture with the guy that's going to break the glass with the spiders in.
Yes.
They still continue to struggle around. Like, I don't know. If I saw that somebody broke the glass where a spider's at that size, I'm like, dude, let's get a counter 8 or something because that thing's going to kill us.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I'm worried about. That's like jumping into an ocean, fighting somebody, and there's like a shark around. I'm like, I'm not worried about you anymore. I'm worried about the other
Yeah.
thing.
But homeboy that was all mutated, he was out for revenge, bro. He wanted to nail that dude. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna make you feel what I'm feeling, motherfucker. So that's when he gets an injector.
It's like I said, though, just there yesterday that when like I said yesterday, just think there's an alternate timeline where instead of the tarantula, it was the guinea pig that got out.
Definitely, yes. I think the guinea pig looked more frightening, to be fair, because the guinea pigs just don't do anything but fucking eat. So if it got out and it was the size of a rhino and it's seen me and I'm quite thick, it's gonna go, there's dinner.
Okay, that's a brutal thought.
It probably would just run away because they're just chicken shits, bunch of little brown turds behind little pellets.
Or not. You'd probably die off the fumes of a
At
fucking
first,
guinea pig.
Yeah.
they started finding those pools next to the bones. I thought it was like spider shit because they shit a lot. Those motherfuckers, these fuckers, they shit a lot.
Is that what you're eating?
So, Daniel Miller, your initial thoughts.
Tasty.
Yeah. My initial thoughts on the opening was it was on the whole first act as a whole. I thought it was really good. It showed us the man, of course, in the desert, deformed. It showed him being carried away. So already we think, okay, this is clearly an act of man, or rather an act of science gone awry. which I think for a film like Tarantula is a really good approach rather than going the whole nuclear exposure or irradiated thing going
Tony
on.
said, yeah.
Yeah, and I wish that we used that formula a lot more than the whole irradiated aspect. But yeah, the whole scene in the lab, it shows us what's going on, but we don't have the whole story. Instead, when we're shown that lab and the giant spider and the rats and the serum he's working on, we're all left to speculate and guess. It's not until we get later on in the film where the professor explains what he's doing, what he's trying to achieve, and the results of that. But this first act of that, we're left with a lot of questions and answers, and we're not quite sure that we want to know what those
you
are because we
basically
see a
with
deformed man attacking him in the lab.
like
Well, the one
without
thing I was trying
knowing-
to think of was because obviously the idea was to create more food. So I was like, all right, you got this and you got this, and then you got that. It's a spider, and I'm like, okay, it's got to be something to do with silk. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah,
like
I was
more
thinking that
silk or
too.
something.
Because I'm like, what?
Nobody in their right mind wants to put like a predator on that list.
No, nobody.
But it
wants
had
to
to be
be
for some
feed a
sort of
spider.
purpose, and that's the only thing I could think of is why they would want to grow a spider that large.
Well, I don't know if they knew the knowledge back then, but like, you know how you can, if you have enough, you can like basically like make like a bulletproof kind of vest. With it, imagine all the silk they can get from one spider that big.
It can make clothing. They could do like your strength is so strong.
A lot of potential, but like
industrial strength wiring.
Yeah.
Maybe better than industrial strength. Who knows?
Military's like, give us the venom.
Yeah, somebody will be like, no, that's what we want.
Yeah, so Mr. Tony the Dead, your initial like thoughts on the beginning and the progression of this plot?
Well, like I said, well, you know, I thought I watched the wrong movie, but then one thing that showed up that I saw that Leo G. Carroll, and then the first thing I thought was Rocky Horror Picture Show. I was like, oh, because I know Leo G. Carroll was over a barrel when Tarantula took to the hill, and I'm like, I never saw the movie, so I'll just take your word for it. Now I see the movie, I'm like, I get it now. You know, like that's cool. And then, but yeah, the face in the beginning was like, holy shit, what the hell? I know it's Tarantula. I know what I'm watching, so it's like I kind of get it, but like I wasn't expecting that. And then the whole thing with the other doctor coming in and then the scientist, and then he was very shady in the beginning. I'm just like, what's he up to? You know, he knows something.
Without knowing the plot synopsis and what he's trying to do, you start off thinking he's shady in that he's, you know, a villain.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's like he's hiding something. What's he hiding? And you know, you just go from there. And then and he's like when he's showing like the guinea pig and all that stuff, it's just like he's so used to it, it's just like normal for him, you know. I said spider, I'm like, holy shit, that thing's huge. And then he's just like, yep, okay, come here, Coco, you know.
You're right.
Too bad the monkey didn't get big too.
But that was such a nice setup too, because he did all the nice little critters, and then he's walking and checking his checklist, and all of a sudden you hear the music change. He's got you see the legs coming. It's like,
Yep.
I think Tony just invented the plot for the next Asylum movie. Giant tarantula.
Don't let Asylum hear this. They will
wait, it's probably too late. There's probably someone in the chat who works at the asylum secretly.
I agree. Yeah.
The doctor. I was just gonna say, like, he did have the, you know, I mean, it was tame, but you could tell he had that, you know, kind of mad scientist type of vibe. But but he was very subtle, very like low key, like, yeah, you know, I bet you there's some of those fuckers are probably gonna come back and get me because of they injected themselves. They're gonna blame me. So I was like,
I also like the setting too, that it's not as like, you know, there's a little town and then like everybody's kind of separate. It's like it reminds you a little bit like Tremors in a way.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh yeah. How funny was the desk guy for the doctor Hastings? Oh, he's like, were you listening in? He's like, no. And then he goes and say, oh, but should I call her back for you? Because she hung up.
Yeah. Should I get him back on the phone for you? He's like holding the phone up.
So,
Yeah, he was good.
So, Mr. Walter Ross, your overall thoughts on the opening of this movie?
Oh, I mean, he asked me first actually about that, but I mean, I'll add on to it more is the fact that it's funny how this leads to, it's like I say, it's something that's the misdirect. It's like it's a magician's trick. It's like you think this is what it's all about, but then it's like, okay, no, we're turning a 180 and showing that this what's on the side here, this elephant in the room, is actually the main focus on the story. And like I say, when we get back to, because like I say, the doctor, he tells them the doctor and the sheriff that, well, he died of this particular disease, and he mentioned the younger doctor actually says, well, doesn't this take like a month or two to actually develop? That's why I told him all kind of like, I've only heard of a case where it does, but it does it that fast in like 2 or 3 days. So it's like something's not gelling right there. So the doctor, it's like maybe his intentions are kind of scaly and kind of like off, but you come to find out that there's something more on the back burner that he's doing. And when you find out, he goes back to his place and it's like, okay, all these giant whatever is going on, and then his assistant comes in there and pretty much says like Sci-Fi said, I'm gonna fuck you up right now, I'm gonna let you know how this feels, It's like, yeah.
Yes, what I've noticed as well, once you get past the initial opening, the film then moves at quite a quick pace. So the pacing basically is you then, you're introduced to the character of she becomes the assistant to Dr. Dima. You've got Stephanie Clayton, who was signed on to be his assistant. And then you've got Joe Birch, who's like a local journalist. And they are basically trying to unravel this mystery of why suddenly there's been an explosion at Dima's lab, why there is like animals being killed in the middle of the desert. And you've got some really graphic scenes with the spider in darkness coming out, killing the horses. And I always enjoyed them scenes of it creeping towards the animals on the ranch and even killing the farmer. I thought it really builds up the intenseness and the fear of this huge arachnid. And then once these characters are introduced and you then discover, you discover these characters. So that's them all together, the three main stars. You then, they kind of go out on a day's drive. And I always loved that particular scene where she's sitting on the rock and there's that scene and the rock starts to tremble and then the rock falls and you've got the big boulder that smashes and they don't see it, but then they walk away and then you see the spider. Basically that's, now this is the first time you're introduced to this giant spider. The spider is now grown further and it's obviously been hiding within the surface of that rock face, and the boulder comes off and the initial emergence of this giant spider, which I always found super creepy and super frightening as a kid. So
What's weird about that? Not just with Clint Eastwood, but the weird thing is when we see those rocks come over the side like it does, we mentioned this before. It's almost like a throwaway to what Tremors would do something similar in 1990 when we see a sequence where some boulders are falling over the side, because of interaction with the graboids, and it's kind of like maybe they're taking, which I think that's what they were doing. They were playing homage to the 50s, sci-fi films back in the day, for what they were
Yeah.
doing there, you know.
Yeah, the director and writer, they wanted to make a then modern day 50s monster movie.
And they
Yep.
succeeded.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Very much so.
Mhm. Yeah, so as the plot progresses, you've got this journalist questioning about the aftermath of the fire at the laboratory, at the mansion. Dima basically says it was an equipment malfunction, but then you can even tell on Stephanie's face, and I think it's Clayton or Hastings. Hastings, they just don't quite believe him. And this is where you believe that, of course, Dima is more villainous than he comes across. And even all the test animals have been killed thanks to this fire, which is kind of hidden all what he's been working on. Once that happens, Dima, he tries to explain, his work about the radioactive elements, the super nutrition, which once perfected will provide an unlimited food supply for humanity. So it goes back to that thing I said earlier, that out of great things, bad things can happen. Out of good intentions, bad things can happen, which is they don't know the spider's escaped. They don't know, the spider is among them. And this whole plot, because it still has that kind of nuclear element to it, it gives me also signs of like Dr. Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was the thing I took away from that myself. It's like this is more a Frankenstein monster kind of motif, because we see that unlike the Frankenstein, the Doctor in Frankenstein, he was trying to do something as far as reanimate dead bodies and everything. Here, this particular Frankenstein type of person, as we mentioned, his intentions are good. He's trying to help the population, because the population keeps growing, trying to add or create food for the populace, and hopefully they will not starve from that. And the way he described how many people are on the planet right now is, and here's the thing about this, I actually looked this up. His numbers were so off. He said by 2000 the population would be like over 3 billion. I actually looked it up, and the population in 2000 was actually double what he said. Okay, so it's like, no, we way past the number that he thinking that 3 billion is a lot. It is not the numbers that we see now, So his intentions, like I say, are good, but his monster got out of control, as we see, as we soon will find out more as we get into the story.
Yes.
Well, if you think about it, though, he's probably right, because of all the shit that happened since 55. It probably increased stuff. So by his calculations, he probably was right if things were going in the order they're going. But because of wars and overpopulation and stuff like that, like
they probably
yeah.
just used the analyses and the scientific research that they had at that time during that era, and that's where they got that number from. It's basically like we've talked about in past science fiction movies. Like, you can look at the Terminator talking about AI. We're now entering the era of AI many years since Terminator was released. So everything they bring up and everything they talk about eventually seems to come to fruition. The only thing I don't want to come to fruition is a giant fucking spider running around the place to kill us. That bit can stay. That bit can stay in the movies.
Maybe it'll just stay in the desert like it is there. It'll attack Vegas or something.
It'll replace
It's pretty close to Texas, so
it's like anything you see in a movie, like especially science fiction movie, it kind of does come to reality. Like, for example, cloning. I know in the UK we had Dolly the sheep, the first clone, which was the first sheep to ever be cloned using DNA from another sheep that actually cloned the exact sheep, called Dolly. So that's another thing that we've seen in science fiction that became reality. So it is kind of scary that even way back in the 1950s, they were predicting things that were going to happen in today's society, in day and age.
Star Trek has a lot of stuff that came out too. Like,
Yes.
you know,
I'll say
Yeah,
this, as far as the giant spider goes, it would certainly replace whatever you have as the ultimate home defense protocol.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Definitely. So obviously, as this has all come to light about his research and about what he's attempting to do, obviously this giant spider has been going rampant around the desert and it's killed the animals in the farm. They go to investigate the farm, they find the carcasses of the farmer and his cattle, which Anubis, you can tell because you're the arachnid expert, that would not actually happen because arachnids actually don't leave bones behind. The whatever that he turns into like a liquid substance, I believe.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, see, with insects, though, it's more just like the exoskeleton that's left behind. But whereas, like bird eaters, which can take on larger prey like birds, lizards, snakes, it's possible that bones could be left because I don't know if the saliva that the spider injects along with the venom, I don't know if that's going to break down the bones. It may not. I've never actually had to feed my spiders any kind of like, mammal or anything like that, a reptile. So
some of the smaller, finer bones might not come out intact, but from some of the videos I've watched, it looks like with feeding the bird eaters, mice and stuff, like the bones are mostly intact.
Yeah. So yeah, it may be a little accurate there with that. It's like, but because we're so used to seeing them, eating, roaches and crickets and stuff, you don't really think about skeletal remains. But
it just wouldn't be the bones by themselves. They'd be encased in like this husk of web and whatever else to digest.
Yeah, it'd be kind of like a big ball. It wouldn't be spread out. It'd be all just kind of like combobulated.
So yeah, so when they do find the cattle remains and the remains of the farmer, they don't just find the bones; they also find like a white substance. You then a few, the next day when it's darkness, you've got two people in a pickup truck who are also killed by the spider, which is also leaves behind white substances and the remains of these individuals. Hastings then goes to both the farm and where these people have been left behind, and he starts to paint this picture that he believes that there's something that may have survived the initial fire at the laboratory. So I'll ask Daniel Miller, because Daniel Miller's good at talking about like these. How do you find the plot going forward and the building the mystery of the spider?
I think the plot is structured very well for a movie like this from the 1950s. It doesn't take its time, but it doesn't rush itself either. It's brilliantly paced. The scenes with the spider at night, I think, are probably the most they're either the most unsettling, but also the most effective parts of the film because of the dark and light contrast, where we don't see the spider in detail as such, but rather we just see its silhouette in the dim lighting, which just makes it that more terrifying. The build up to the reveal of its size, because it's still growing exponentially. Like at first it's the size of a truck, then it grows to half the size of a mountain, then it grows into this absolute beast, and it's just not going to stop.
Yeah, and obviously it's like the size of a tank, I believe, and it goes to attack the truckmen. And at the same time, like you mentioned right at the beginning in the first movie, when they have the initial fire over at the laboratory, when the other man, at the lab, Dr. Dima was actually injected by the man that he was fighting. He was injected by this substance. And because he's been injected by this substance, he's now starting to develop the same thing that the gentleman that attacked him is, which is this very quick acting and very, fast developing version of, I'm going to try and say the name of this illness, acromegaly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since you asked, that's more or less what the left behinds from the meal would be like.
Ugh.
Gee.
Ugh. So acromegaly is a disorder that results in an excess of growth of certain parts of the human body. It is caused by excess growth hormones and the growth platelets have closed. So basically it's your body's just overgrown and it obviously must be extremely painful and can obviously will end and result in a young death.
Yeah,
You know,
because he mentions
what?
that. Go. I'm sorry.
You know what? I just have a thought on that. It's what I think it's what Andre the Giant had.
No, he had gigantism. It's different.
Okay, yeah. Okay, well, something like they continue to grow, but it makes sense because there's certain parts, but like I guess what he had, it just he couldn't stop growing, so that's why he had that's why people like will go through what he goes through, have a early they die young because their body just keeps growing.
Gigantism, your whole body continues growing. Acromegalia, it'll just be like you would get like these tumorous looking things growing, or just certain parts would keep growing. You wouldn't change in height any.
Okay.
It doesn't do it.
Isn't there a film that recently just came out where they've used an actor that has that condition? It's recently just been released, and I don't know if it's Sebastian Stan's in the movie. It's but they use an actor who actually has the condition, so they don't need to place makeup.
I think there was a dude that was in Real Big Fish, as well as House of a Thousand Corpses, the really big dude. I think he had that.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he passed away
Yeah, he
a few
passed
years
away.
ago, but he was really tall.
Oh, it's not him. He might have giganticism. I'm talking about the dude who's got the facial deformities. And he's recently just been in the movie, and it's apparently a really good movie. I don't know if it's a movie or documentary, but it's something to watch. I'll have to try and find it for you guys and let you know.
Is that the movie that's called Mr. Tony of the Dead or something?
That's the best title you could come up with.
Yeah, well, I mean,
there's the guy who's afraid of spiders and has 17 of them.
I know. It's probably gonna be the death of me.
So the Elephant Man didn't go through that, right? Did he?
I think
he had something else. He had some other issue.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Elephantitis, supposedly. I think something like that.
So,
did someone say balls? I swear I thought it was balls.
Get your mind out of the gutter there.
I was gonna say my mind's in the gutter.
Salty balls.
No, he said it. I thought it, but he said it.
Oh god. Well, then you might want to say chocolate salty balls. So we'll just get that out.
Put them in my eye.
For anybody watching this live, I am so sorry.
You're not.
Come on, Jake, you know us by now. It's never
Jake, you're right.
He always goes off the rails somewhere.
Anubis, you should have seen you weren't there yesterday before you showed up. He actually said motherfucker.
Oh, he's living life dangerously.
Yeah, once he actually, I was like, wow. He said, "Did you just say that?"
I thought when he said "damn it" the other day, that was like the extent of it. He's going crazy now.
He's growing up. His cojones are getting bigger and bigger.
He's finally growing the pair.
I was like,
becoming a man.
I was like a proud father when he said it.
Oh, man.
Boy.
Oh, shit.
But anyway,
Oh, that's funny.
let's crack on, as Mr. Tony there knows I love saying that word.
Yeah.
Let's
Rock on.
let's crack. Yeah. So what ends up happening next is that they look at this white substance. It gets tested, and then it gets discovered that it is arachnid venom. So slowly they put the two together, that these murders of cattle and farmers and these two individuals, it must have been from something that survived the initial flames and the initial fire at the mansion. You know, Hastings flies back to Desert Rock. As the night falls, the tarantula, now as big as a house, attacks the mansion, killing Dima, and Clayton escapes. But these initial scenes, I have to be honest, I was really impressed with, especially this scene, because that does look terrifying. Now, there is something I do want to show as well. They did actually create this for the movie. Which
now that's just a puppet, right?
Yeah.
That is just a puppet which was barely used, because I think they initially thought, well, we're using a real life spider during, you know, trick photography, and they also have the spider crawl over some small buildings, like, you know, like
What's crazy too?
Wait, Kevin.
And Daniel, the professor probably agree with this, and anybody that's seen the other movie. So the effects are great in Tarantula, and you just used a superimposed real tarantula crawling around. But then you go back to the mid 70s when they did a movie called The Giant Spider Invasion, and the giant spider they used was actually nothing but a Volkswagen Beetle with some legs on it. That's all they did.
Oh.
Yeah. It's like they took the eyes of the beetle and just made that the spider eyes. It was ridiculous. I'm like, come on, man. The guys in the 50s did it way better than you.
Yeah. Wait, didn't they use that? Didn't they use the puppet in the poster though? Like, can you bring up the poster?
Yes, I can. So that actually, this is the poster.
Oh yeah, it's the same as that other picture.
Yeah.
So, and if you buy the Blu-ray or the DVD, this is the cover of the Blu-ray and DVD. So it's very, like, back in the 1950s, it was the norm to kind of create a poster with a character that was quite, you know, out there.
Well,
But
it's
when
always
they
crazy.
actually,
I mean, look at King Kong 76. I mean, he's on the Twin Towers. That never happened. He wasn't stretched out across both towers. You know what I mean? So
yeah, well, he has one for you. Remember the Godzilla versus Megalon poster where they were on top of the two towers?
Yeah. One for each tower.
But as we progress, they now have discovered that the tarantula is real and a threat. And the thing is, the reveal of the spider.
Yep, there it is.
Yeah.
Vroom vroom.
Oh God.
So what the great thing I loved about this movie is, like, unlike Beast of 20,000 Fathoms, they discovered the spider quite early on. Sorry, they discovered the dinosaur quite early on, and the rest of the movie is about destroying the dinosaur or finding a way to stop it. This spider, throughout the majority of the movie, is hidden. You don't actually know. It's not even there. It's not till the last half of the movie that they discover the realization that there's a giant spider going around, which I found fucking crazy, but also really fun. And it makes me wish that they actually didn't kill the spider, that they created a second movie which was all about killing the spider.
It kind of works being a tarantula that they kept it hidden, because even despite the size of that one, like, tarantulas are master ambush hunters.
Yes. So, like you say, Deemer is killed. He's killed in the mansion. Clayton escapes. Hastings returns for out in the car. The tarantula pursues them down the highway towards the town. The sheriff's men intercept, but at first they're like, yeah, they're talking about the giant spider. They don't believe them. They think they're talking absolute nonsense until they actually see the spider heading towards them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
And-
talked about
told you
this.
so.
I'm
It's
not
right there.
hanging back to try to shoot it with a gun. I'm
Yeah.
not doing it. I'm like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys get the submachine guns. We're gonna live. I mean, we're gonna go down the road.
The sheriff be like, yeah, you guys hang behind. Say, fuck you. I'm gonna go take these people out of here. You stay here, leader.
Now,
I
next
never
time I-
understood. I
Now,
never understood that
next time I
plot
tell
point
you
at
there's
all.
a giant spider on the loose, you
Well, you
better
had to have
run.
people die. That's how it works. You got to have somebody that's stupid enough to get killed. And
Ba-
that's the way to
Yeah.
go.
Basically, they were the red
People in the
shirts
red
before
shirts
it
in
was
the
red
Enterprise.
shirt implied in Star Trek.
What'd you say, Dan?
Yeah.
Like the people in the red shirts on the Enterprise.
Oh, just
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what
So, unless I'm Captain Jean-Luc Picard, I don't ever want to go on the Enterprise with a red shirt on because I'm too pretty to die early. What you laughing at, Daniel?
Oh,
Oh,
oh, Sentry. I feel the tensions here. The tensions here.
attention, no.
So what ends up happening? They do a first attempt at killing the tarantula. They use dynamite. It didn't even dent the site, and this is when they finally grow the balls to contact the military, who then decide to send their greatest weapon, Mr. Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood. Yep.
And he couldn't even hit it the first few times.
Right?
Go ahead.
Yes.
Unfortunately,
If they wanted to get really cute, they could have put the other two guys like Van Cleef in the other jet, and then of course the Ugly in the third one. That would have been great.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
The trifecta. That would have been fun.
and
Oh,
unfortunately for Clint Eastwood, this was a few years before the 45 Magnum was invented.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So the
Really?
spider had a bit of an advantage.
Yeah, no need the napalm, just the gun.
Well, do ya?
So,
Well, at least he
okay.
got it right. He hit the fucker with the napalm, and he's like, "Just dump it all." That's what I
Yeah.
would.
So, like you said, like Mr. Tony said, they use napalm and they destroy the tarantula at the edge of town. And I always love the end sequence where it is the end and you just see the incinerated tarantula and the one or two legs still kind of moving. And then it phases to black. And that's the end of the movie. So I'll go around and then ask you all one by one your initial your overall thought of this movie. We'll start with Mr. Jedi Granville.
This is like a lot of the 50s films back then. Just a cool popcorn loving, time away from it. It was mostly derived for teenagers, so it's before they get that cherry pop, they, get to see a good flick that they want to see, and have some fun with. I mean, and the fun thing is this film is only 80 minutes long, but then again, a lot of those films back then were pretty short. They were pretty like an hour to an hour 15, hour 20. I mean, they weren't exclusively long. They were pretty much say, let's do this, let's tell the plot, and let's get the hell out of here. And that was about the size. This film is like I say, it was a lot better than I anticipated with it. I just have one little gripe that I feel I need to bring up. That one scene with these two, I think these ranchers, they're out in the dark and everything. I kid you not, when they run away from the damn spider, one of them, I'm like, how the hell you just trip like you doing? It's like, dude, you got two left feet? Good God, man.
He didn't trip just once. He
Get
tripped
your ass
twice.
up and run. I can
And
never understand why they do
I
that.
expected his friend to keep after the second time, be like, "Fuck you, dude! You can't even walk. I'm out of here."
Seriously, get your ass out! Like, fuck you, man. I'm not dying for your ass. Like he tripped not just once, he tripped twice, And I'm just like, dude, you know what? Leave his ass. Forget it, you know. So, but other than that, this film is a good ride. I mean, it's to the point. It does what it's supposed to do, and yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. So I'm most likely going to have to, like you, get the Blu-ray of it.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Tony the Dead.
My initial overall thoughts.
Yes.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I think the story flowed perfectly. You know, like I said, the atmosphere of it was really good. I guess and I agree with Jedi with that part. I thought like, and then they stop and they just hover over something and they just do one of these. It's like you still have time. They had, at least those guys had more time to run, but they just kind of like took it. I'm like, okay, but like, yeah, I mean, I really did like the movie. Mara Corday. Oh my God. I actually thought, because I don't know, I'm horrible with names and I don't really know a lot of old time like movie actors and actresses' faces, like and things. Like I could see her in another movie and probably not recognize her, but like I thought she looked like Gina Gershon. And I was
Mhm.
like, I wonder if that's like her mom or grandmother or something, you know? And it's not, but like, I was like, wow, she looks just like her, but man, is she gorgeous. And
She's in another. She's in another kaiju movie. I think she's in The Claw.
Yeah, the giant claw.
The giant claw.
God, the giant claw. But yeah, I that part with the spider looking in her window, and it just like he's getting closer to it. It's like, yeah, I know what you want to see. You know, you want to take one of those 8 legs. No, but I thought that was really cool. The only thing I guess I would say is like, I know like, you know, they can be quiet and everything, but this thing is that big. Is there no vibrations that they were like, what is that? Like he's at in front on her, like right in her backyard.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah,
only
like
thing
a
I'm like,
T-Rex.
right. Like that's the only thing I'm like, they probably should have had some tremors or something. Like, what is that? You know, but I can excuse it. You know, I'll just say he was just very, very softly walking. And the part like it was very impressive with seeing that, you know, it's not a real giant spider walking in the desert, but it looks exactly like it. They did like a perfect job at that, even with the shadowing. It was amazing. I was like, it's very convincing. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm gonna end up getting it, to be honest. I actually thought I had it, but I don't. But yeah, I really liked it. I'm glad I got to see it.
Okay, you're gonna get the movie, but are you gonna open the movie?
Are you gonna go fuck yourself?
Oh wow!
You see, that's I saw the movie, so if I don't open it right away, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I will watch it.
Oh,
And this makes me want to watch like other like giant movies from back then, like the
Hey, did you ever
Praying-
see the? Oh yeah, you saw the Creature from the Black Lagoon, because we know somebody
Oh,
who
yeah.
hasn't.
Oh yeah. Well,
here's
that
something
just
that's
means he has to.
well, here's
Yeah.
here's something that's going to kick your noodle. Then I haven't seen the giant claw.
That's okay.
Actually, you know what? I haven't either. So there we go. There's 2 of them.
What the hell?
Well, I haven't seen the Killer Shrews either. I mean, some of these I just have no interest in.
either.
I'm like, I'm not gonna watch
No,
that.
I've seen the
What's
Killer
the other one?
Shrews.
The Mushroom People. I'm not watching that.
Yeah, you will.
It's trash.
That one's
It's
actually
trash.
not so much the cheesy B movie you think it would be.
But I
Which
bet
one?
everybody here has seen the birds, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just want to make sure.
Walter's lying.
Walter, just say, "Yep, I've seen it."
I'm just kidding. I'm just fucking with you.
Okay.
Any more, just say that, man. You never get busted.
So
Oh, yeah,
apparently she was
Like I don't. If they ask, I don't own anything,
You don't.
so no.
It's just those are empty cases behind them.
That's
This
exactly what I
is
was gonna
actually
say.
green screen. It's not even my room.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all green
Yeah.
screen. Oh,
So guess what?
Yeah.
Jake Hall has not even finished the birds.
I've seen
Oh,
it.
no.
I don't remember much. To be
Oh.
honest.
So
I just skipped to the end when I was in
Daniel,
the crack.
Yeah. So Daniel Miller, your overall thoughts of Tarantula?
My overall thoughts on Tarantula. It's a pretty solid B grade monster movie. It's great pacing, it's to the point, it doesn't trip over itself. It has great visual effects and cinematography with the spider sequence. There are some moments where you notice, like when the spider's coming over the hill, some of the imposed footage is cropped slightly at the bottom, so some of the the tips of the spider's legs aren't properly touching the rock. It's just
Yeah, I
crashing into
saw
a
that.
invisible barrier. But
And they had to
yeah,
use
I mean,
canned air or something to kind of get the spider to react. So
yeah, that they literally did. They had sprayed small amounts of canned air just to get the spider to move in the right direction. Which, I mean, some would say, well, that's a bit harsh. Others would be like, well, no, we're just gently nudging it the way we want it to go.
Yeah, it's better than taking like a stick and all of a sudden this huge stick comes by to move his legs or something.
Actually, go on to use that same technique in arachnophobia.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Yes, they did. I was going to just say that. Anthony Jordan, your overall thoughts of Tarantula?
Love this movie ever since the first time I seen it as a kid. It's a lot of fun, just interesting concept, takes time to build the mystery. Always enjoy this movie.
Sci-Fi Sentry.
I mean, all you guys have already put up a lot of good points. I mean, it's definitely solid sci-fi for its time. It's definitely a good film, especially with the effects and everything. So, but no, it's overall it's good. It surprised me, even though I hadn't seen it in decades, but it brought back a few things that I remembered, and but it's definitely a solid sci-fi movie.
DJ Anubis.
Yep, everyone's covered. I mean, this is a really, really great, as the presser said, it's a B-rate, sci-fi film and really well done. And even when you go back and watch it like now, it's pretty impressive how much it stands out to some of the other films that came after it. So like a lot of credit is due to the filmmakers who did that. It was interesting because you sent me also the colored version. Some guy put the color into it. And so while it looked kind of weird with some of the actors, but when it came to the spider itself, it was this like really cool kind of like glow that was behind it. And when it was coming around the mountains and stuff, like at times I thought like there was like a thunderstorm in the background because it kind of made it look that way. So that was kind of a nice little effect from the colored version that I was watching. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, that is where I was going to go next. Because I was going to ask, so here is the black and white original. So that is what the prop looks like in black and white. And wait till you see this.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
That's pretty cool.
Come on, go!
A part of me wonders, what it would have been like if they just kept, in color. So he has a couple of shots in color. For me, that looks very realistic.
Yeah.
And this though, on the other hand, it looks like Clayface from Batman.
It does.
So there is some pros and cons.
Yeah, Toxic Avenger too. I see that.
Yes. So we're going up. So DJ Lewis, do you prefer the black and white or the color?
I like both. But like I said, the color added some things. But I did notice that with the actors, it gave them kind of like, it made them look like they were corpses in some ways because of the way he was trying to get the color in. But in other areas, like with the spider itself, it worked out very well. It just turned out really nice. But either version is great. I mean, the black and white, I think the professor nailed it earlier when he said it. Whenever it's dark and the spider is in the scene, it really adds an extra amount of creepiness and fear factor what's going on, because like I like the two guys that are like at the campfire before it chases them down. They're like laughing and then they're looking up, and it's like at first they hesitate because they're trying to figure out what the hell it is they're looking at, and then of course you're seeing these legs and shit, and you're like, oh shit, we gotta go.
Yeah,
Right.
it's the nighttime scenes that are really good because you don't see much detail. You just see the outline of this shape, and not being able to decipher it is what makes it all that more creepier.
Definitely. So, sci-fi, do you prefer black and white or do you prefer the colored version?
I'll go with traditional, just black and white.
I know Anthony Jordan's answer. He cannot stand the colored version.
Yeah, I couldn't. I just didn't like it because, like Anubis pointed out, especially with the people, how it just made them look like corpses. It's something they just can't. They get that balance where there's always things that just look off, and it's hard for me to watch.
Like I was gonna say that I don't know, like when you make something in black and white, that's just leave it that way. Like if they were made back in the days like that, that was what they had. That's what they had to use. That's what that's what was at their disposal. They just keep it that way. They just.
Well, I think the
I
guy
agree.
that did it was not a professional. I think he was just some random guy, right? Because when I think about like the Wizard of Oz, that looks great in color. So like the guy that did the Tarantula movie, I think that was just some dude that said, you know what, I'm gonna try to do this, and I mean it's fine, but like Anthony pointed out, we got the issues with the characters themselves, so it does look a little bit amateurish. But I give him credit because he did a pretty decent job for somebody that probably doesn't work professionally in the industry, at least to my knowledge.
Yeah.
Yes. Daniel Miller, black and white or color?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say for this movie, black and white, because not only does it look scarier in black and white, but it also looks more natural because it was filmed on that film stock. Color, if you're going to colorize something, at least look at one of the behind the scenes stills that was photographed in color for a reference. Because when you try and colorize something, it's good that you're adding in some imagination, but there are points where it feels like, okay, you're on a bit of a psychedelic trip that's not that good a quality. But it's like if it's filmed in color, then yeah, fine, it's filmed in color. But if it's filmed in black and white and you're trying to colorize something and the colors don't match, just don't do it.
Get off that LSD. Get off that LSD when you're watching the Tarantula, man.
Right?
Yeah.
Like the person who invented the Technicolor process, his wife was actually like the bane of a lot of directors and editors because sometimes she would come in and give her insight when they would do it. She's like, oh, I think that shirt should be this color, even though it was intended to be another color.
Oh,
yes. I can imagine. Mr. Tony the Dead, do you prefer black and white or color?
Well, I'd like to see it in color, the whole movie, but I mean,
I'll send you the
I
link.
was thinking that
I've got the link for the black and white for the color version.
Okay, yeah, I'll check it out. But yeah, I was even thinking last night, like, wow, this looks really good in black and white. I wonder what it looks like in color. But certain, like another movie that I prefer Night of the Living Dead in black and white over color as well. I don't think it looks as good. Black and white just makes everything pop more. I don't know. It works. I don't know, and especially like at the time, yeah, I agree. Keep it that. I mean, hey, if you want to do it in color, I'll check it out. But chances are it's not going to be as good. There's even a lot of movies nowadays that they have like black and white versions of them too. Like I never watched it, but I know Logan has a black and white version.
Yeah.
And I bet that looks amazing.
It's called Logan. Yeah, Logan.
Like
No, I think it's
Noir.
called
Noir. Yeah, Noir.
Noir, yeah.
Noir.
One thing we didn't say. Usually in these movies, the woman in the movie is always like the pretty girl that goes off with the guy, and she kind of does that in this. They hit it off, but she's actually not just she's actually a scientist. She helps out, she's not like just a pretty face.
Mm.
And they even give
Yeah.
her Stevie as her name. But
Yeah.
they did say, and he did say to her in the movie, like, "Uh-oh." She's like, "What?" You go, "Is it something about we gave you the right to vote, and this is what we get? Reading books." It's like, oh my god. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Like at the time, it's like, you know, and we still hear
That
that
would
kind
be
of stuff
that.
nowadays.
Yeah, that probably wouldn't be allowed in a modern movie.
No.
Not
Probably
unless
be
it's done as a
shunned.
parody or comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah,
look
I
at
would
what
like to see I would like to see the color version. But
I've sent you the link.
thank you.
Yeah, but on
So,
the
Mr.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask Mr. Walter, was does he prefer black and white or coloured?
Well, I'm just like sci-fi. I'm such a traditional. Like I say, if it was meant to be in black and white, let it stay in black and white. I mean, true enough, if you want to see it in color, so that's fine. But personally, this, as Daniel said, this looks so great just being black and white because it does give that just on beyond presence about it. You know, with transfers. Like, no, just leave it black and white.
Hmm.
I just
What were
wanted
you
to say,
going to
like,
say? Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. I'll get to Daniel real quick. It's not that I don't say that. I'm a traditionalist, but I mean, I love retro stuff. If there's some stuff that comes out and they make it in color that's back in the 50s and stuff, I mean, I'll still look at it. But I mean, I don't want people to like, oh, take it. I don't take away nothing from color because I know some black and white movies that have been made in color have come out decent. So
Yeah.
that's just.
Yes.
Go ahead, Dan.
So, Daniel Miller, what were you about to say? Sorry.
Yeah, two things. One, about what we were saying about color movies having black and white variants. Of course, there's Godzilla -1. Even Shin Godzilla has its own decolorized version that was released alongside the minus color variant of -1. So that's an interesting thing to see this reversal of color movies being released in a black and white format. Another thing is about the plot device of the spider being the result of scientific tampering. With there was a project with good intentions, but it just went awry. And I feel that's an interesting plot point that I don't feel was utilized enough during the 50s. But there was an episode of a 1960s TV series titled Thunderbirds. The episode was Attack of the Alligators. And the plot was a scientist who was using the flora and fauna of the river to create a drug that would solve problems like world hunger and food shortages, but it accidentally gets mixed into the local river. The alligators feed it, and the alligators grow into giant size. So, looking at Tarantula, I feel that there was some inspiration taken, and it works.
Yes, definitely. Definitely, I agree. As for me, I prefer the black and white version. The only negative I have, and I don't know if you could class this as a negative, is that, like you've mentioned, Daniel, you have the poster, you have they actually have they have like a prop that they used. I'm guessing the prop was used in the close-up shots. So, for example, this scene here.
Yeah.
So there is a close-up shot of her in the mansion, walking about a bedroom, and then you have the black and white prop. Then you have the coloured prop. I don't know if the coloured prop, if they did more scenes where you actually got to see the tarantula in all, like this would have worked, especially in colour. I think it looks more effective in black and white, even though you don't actually get to see it like this. But I prefer the black and white. So overall, when it comes to Tarantula, I think it's a great concept. I think it's a great idea. I think, for me, it's a mixture of a great science fiction 1950s film with elements of the Dr. Frankenstein's plot. And like I said before, everyone, the scientist, Dr. Dima, he has good intentions that go bad. So overall, I'll quickly go around. We'll try and rate this, Mr. DJ Anubis.
It's not something I come back to too often, but I do still really enjoy a lot. And I probably should own it myself, but if I had to rate it, I'd probably give it like an 8 out of 10.
Mm-hmm. Sci-fi.
I'll give it. I'm the same as Anubis. I probably won't go back to it very much, but that's for its time. It still did. I mean, it still surprised me. So I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10.
Anthony Jordan.
I'll go like Anubis and give it a 8 out of 10. That's a fair score for this movie.
Daniel Miller.
I'm going to agree and say that it's worthy of an 8 out of 10. It was simple, it was effective, and it, even by today's standards with CGI and visual effects, it holds up remarkably well. But thinking back to the prop that you showed us, did they use that prop at the end after it was napalmed and then you just see the spider burning?
Probably.
I don't know. Like, I just remember seeing like a couple of the legs like on fire, like that, shaking like that, and it could have been potentially the prop.
No, if that prop existed, like you said, then that's probably what it was. Because I went and this is just atypical of me when it comes to filming, especially in the back in the day. I went and looked to see if there were any animals that were harmed, including the spider, and they said none were. So they probably used a prop there at the end, which works very well actually with it on fire like it was. It was really effective. And I was curious. I was like, dude, that is like so realistic because you had it crawling.
Yeah.
They dropped the napalm and then it was just like in flames. And so the way they meshed it together, flawless.
Yes. So did you give your rating, Daniel?
Yeah, I gave it an 8 out of 10.
Mr. Tony of the Dead.
Well, I guess like everybody else, 8 out of 10. I don't. Yeah, 8 out of 10 is I think fair.
Mr. Granville, Jedi Granville, Mr. Walter Ross.
Yeah, you can't get it out your mouth, can you?
That's what she said.
That's what she said.
I think we stepped into that. I'm sorry. No, I did. No, I'm gonna give it an 8 because it's like I say, it could be a 9, but I feel for the time this is just right. 8 is it's a 8, kind of like the show. 8 is enough. So that's where
Very well, and I'll give it an 8 out of 10 as well. Is it a film I would go back to? I love a lot of these giant creature feature, atomic monster type 1950s films, but there is a couple more that are a little bit higher on the list for me. Beast of 20,000 Fathoms for me is always a huge one. We will be in January. We will be doing the audience's vote winner, which will be the Giant Behemoth. So that's another British kaiju film that doesn't get a lot of love, which we're going to bring to this channel, to the Kaiju Connections segment.
Yeah, I bought that one at G-Fest when we went.
Yeah, same here.
That's why,
like, G-Fest too.
But like I say, that's my next goal. Get to G-Fest and buy the fuck out of that desk with all the DVDs and bring them home to watch. But this has been amazing. Another amazing review, another amazing great conversation with an amazing panel. I can't even speak. Panel full of guests. I must have a spider down my throat.
That's not the only thing down that throat.
We were all thinking it, Kevin. I mean, I know I was. So like, that's what
I didn't think you were going to say spider. So,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not in Texas, Daniel.
He doesn't suck and tell.
So, anyway, to end this, I'm going to ask us all to go around and see what's coming on your channels. We'll start with the DJ Anubis.
Well, next week I'd plan on pretty much taking a break while we pack and get ready to move. I told Tony that we might be able to squeeze in ghouls, but Neko informed me that we might be able to move into our place as early as Wednesday.
Oh,
If that happens, I'll keep him updated on whether or not I could do that. But if not, if it's going to still be next Saturday, then I'll probably get at least the ghouls of Midnight Entity. We are going to do his pick, which will be Free Jack, starring Amelia Estevez. So we're going to be doing that. I'll be getting my top 5, but then the following week, obviously, I'll be continuing my Kaiju spotlight. I just did one today with Mr. Jedi Grand Vale down there in the basement, and so like that was fun. It came out pretty good. Next one I'm doing is with Kevin. We'll actually be continuing the spider theme with Kamonga, and then yeah, I got some other stuff going. I just have to kind of look at my calendar by that time, but it's a little bit of ways away. So yeah. And our host is wandering off for whatever fucking reason. But anyway, Sentry, what would you like to be doing next?
No, I'm definitely going to take.
My pussy. What's that?
Oh, switching the game up. I like that.
Oh,
did you say switching the gay up?
the game.
No, that's the
Where did that come from?
Kevin, you don't
That
want
is-
women, trust me.
I've been there, done there, got the t-shirt. It wasn't for me.
Got the bumper sticker too.
Oh man!
Well, I got something, but I can't talk about it on camera.
All right.
no, I'm probably gonna take the rest of December, probably January, but I'm already starting to get restless, and I'm thinking I'm probably gonna depending on how I feel, maybe late December or early January to finish off Event Horizon, and then
I've been playing that one forever.
yeah, I know, and then probably like I said, depending on what if I have to go do any more appointments in January, Conan the Barbarian, and then what do you call it? That's pretty much it. Just spend time with the lady, take a break, but then still, spread it out and just live life, man. That's it. Just live life and do stuff like that. But that's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm. Anthony Jordan.
I need to get back to Return of Godzilla-thon, but between just everything for Halloween, I've been in a little bit of a YouTube burnout. But I'm probably going to get one more video.
All about that.
One more video and a couple gameplays out this month.
Daniel Miller.
Well, nothing planned as of yet immediately, and I have had a bit of a rut. I've been burnt out a little bit myself, but I am always looking optimistically about the things that I've got in line, whether it be a short story or thing like the horror stories I was trying to get done for October, or whether it be a stop motion, particularly a Godzilla stop motion. So yeah, if I find that creative curve, that moment, definitely it's going to be all systems go, full speed ahead, get it done. And that also applies for the video game stuff as well. But yeah, as soon as anything happens, I'm going to be working hard on it. You have my
I look forward to it. And yes, I look forward to it. And like I've mentioned before, if you ever wanted, do one of your short stories or one of your stories and you would like a platform to bring it somewhere, I'm more than willing to let you come on the entertainment headquarters and talk one of your
stories
out for everyone to see.
Thanks, Kevin.
Same with me.
Same with
the invitation is out there.
Fucking copycat.
I know. What I like doing, baby.
Well, I mean, I'll put Professor. I'll put you on. Some of the other live streams I do and stuff like that. And the video gaming, let me know. Let me know what video games you're doing, because I forgot to mention that's one thing I started, doing again. But that's more on the download. That's more just out of boredom and trying to keep busy if I'm not doing streams. But
Yeah,
I finally realized. I finally found a way to make it easier to use my Xbox Series X and just download download directly to YouTube instead of having to go through all the trouble of editing and all that. So
Yeah, I mean,
that's what.
yeah. I
Sorry.
was going to say for the AVP game footage I record it from my Xbox onto this little drive, and what I do is I go through the recording and I change the in-game sound effects to the movie accurate sounds, because I'm also, while focusing on the video editing sometimes, I also like to experiment more with Foley and sound design, and also do a bit of color grading on the side of that as well. So that's what I do with the video game stuff.
Oh, so good. I'm not there. I'm not at that level yet, but but yeah, that's cool, man. That's cool.
Mr. Tony the Dead, what's coming to your channel?
Well, just like what Anubis said, we're going to do Free Jack. So depending on what his schedule is going to be like, we'll be doing that next on my channel. I don't really have anything planned except on New Year's Eve. I'm going to have like a big unboxing. I'm just getting things in and everything, and whatever comes in by then.
I was just going to ask you, actually. I was just going to ask you there if you had any more unboxing videos coming up.
Yeah, that one, and then yours, pretty much.
Well, mine, you don't know when mine's coming. Mine is the Entertainment Headquarters mystery boxes. For those that do not know, these guys in front of me right here have been a big support to me, not just to help me launch my channel and give my first year an amazing run, but they've also been very supportive and great friends for me personally, especially over the last few weeks where I've went through some difficulties, but I'm a trooper, I'm picking myself up and I'm moving forward. So as a little thank you for all their support for the first year of the Entertainment Headquarters, and for, just being really great mates, basically. I've bought them a little surprise, and so throughout the year of 2025, I'll be sending them all individually a Entertainment Headquarters mystery box, which will have a few items that are personalized just for them. But
you better not send me a big ass black dildo.
No, I've got a photo. I've got a photo of me holding a figure you don't have.
Spicy.
But anyway,
that's friendship right there, baby.
I'm gonna send a DJ Anubis just me holding a picture of Reptilicus.
Okay, so I gotta. If there's ever a Metal Tavern Radio mystery box, what tarantula is the professor gonna get?
I'm sending a fucking OBT his way.
That
thing will chase him across the fucking room.
Where they pop open like
it's only about this big too, but he's a feisty asshole.
The feisty asshole.
Mm-hmm.
I like them.
You know the phrase.
It chafes.
You know the phrase "woke up and chose violence." Yeah. With an OBT, it's the other way around. Violence woke up and chose them.
Oh.
Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that if Daniel cross paths with the OBT, he's getting that aerosol can and a fucking lighter and. He's like, I need more napalm.
Fire cleanse everything, I guess.
Yeah, that was.
What are you saying, Kevin?
Well, when I get a fucking moment, I was going to ask you if you've got anything going to your channel.
I mean, look, it's all our show.
Oh my god!
Yeah, it's all our show. But to answer your question, I don't have nothing major coming up in the next month. But I got something coming up next week that I said on Anubis' channel, and it's actually going to be talking about this film, the 45th anniversary of Star Trek: The Motion Picture. I'm going to do a kind of a retro kind of talk about, because I saw this film back in '79, and like I said, I'll discuss it more, but in great detail. But I want to go through the motions of how my experience was when I saw this film in the theater, because you got to remember the only reason why that movie got made because of the phantom of the syndication of the original Star Trek. I'm going to go into that and everything and talk about why this film was and whatever, but basically just kind of break it down and talk about it. But it won't come out until like the tail end of next week, so you'll be seeing that.
Yeah.
Hey Walter,
Yeah.
you also need to start doing your own freaking live stream, bro.
When I get when I get the stuff that you motherfuckers have to do this, I will intentionally invite all of you, and we will have a gangbang like you've never heard of before. Okay?
Oh, don't
Ooh.
promise me a good time.
Oh
I
boy.
don't know what to say to that.
It's no Tony.
You're
You can't. It's
speechless.
no way to say anything about that. That's just how.
Well, as for me in
Alrighty.
the entertainment headquarters, I have tomorrow. I'm going to attempt to do a couple of unboxings myself. The first is going to be the mystery box from Terra Street Toys. So I have no idea what is in the box. The second unboxing, this is a good one. Ichiban
Oh,
from
you
Godzilla.
bought it?
Oh yeah. I'm right there with you.
Golden boy.
So those two potentially will be up at some time through the week. Outside of that, like I say, I'm just gonna slowly kind of have some time for myself and add my streams in here, and then in the next stream I believe will be on the 13th of December, and it will be the Christmas special where I will be talking about two films. The first is a film that in America it is a Thanksgiving movie, but it is a film that over here in the UK is shown every Christmas, and is another much loved classic, which is Planes, Trains and Automobiles. And on top of that, we'll be talking about National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, one of my all-time favourite films. And then we're going to go back to the kaiju stuff on the 14th and do another live stream. And that live stream is going to be called Godzilla Unmade. And it is a whole live stream dedicated to the unproduced Toho films from Toho. And we're going to discuss the ins and outs of potential films that we all wanted to see that unfortunately just did not happen. My personal one is I really wanted to see Godzilla versus Bagan, which is a huge character that may have never made a big screen in, he's never made it to the big screen, but Bagan is a much loved fan favorite. So that's what's coming up on the entertainment headquarters. These have been my amazing guests, but most importantly, friends. And so with that said, thank you for watching Kaiju Connections. Thank you for watching the entertainment headquarters. Please like, share and subscribe to each and every one of these individual channels. I'm going to put all their links in the subscription box down below. So with that said, keep on enjoying your movies, keep on enjoying all things entertainment, and like Mr. Walter Ross always says, keep the kaiju love alive.
Motherfuckers!